Ooh, ready to root. Okay. Islam Morris. Islam, I wish you all the best. Peace and love to you all. I want to speak to you today on a topic that is very interesting. This topic is going to talk about Juneteenth and what Juneteenth is. And I heard something about, I don't watch TV, by the way, but I heard something about not Donald Trump, who is it? Biden signing some law in place that says that Juneteenth will now be recognized as a national holiday. And that is the next step after the infiltration. Alright, to try to get some of these Moors stepping out of their natural identification and adopting these brands of black and adopting the situation of servitude and slavery when that has not ever been their condition, and it still is not their condition to this very day. Okay? But some of them are accepting those brands because of the agreement that's in place and because they are kind of accustomed to a certain way of life, and also because they're getting some type of financial kickback, all right, from the corporation, the government, the business, the United States corporation, to how can I say, portray this some type of narrative, this some type of how can I say this properly? So they could put food on their table, buy a house, buy a car, buy a boat, things of that sort. Okay? And I am here today to help my brothers and sisters understand this real truth. Alright? But no emotion, no attachment. Okay? I'm not going to put none of my opinions out there. I'm not going to get emotional. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get attached. Okay, my job is to just put the truth out there based on science and law, and then have everybody, choose to do whatever they want to do, however they choose to do it. Make up their own choice. Do the research for themselves. Okay? Now, first thing first, let's talk about, it said Juneteenth is a holiday recognizing slavery and the people being released from slaves. That's what I heard. But that's not necessarily the case, because according to my information, the first Juneteenth is the recognition of the court case back in 1848. You understand what I'm saying? When June 19th, 1848, this is when the Washita Turners, the Washingtons, the Stars, the Reeds, the L's, the Bays, alright, they celebrate the court case that they won with the United States. Alright, being in this court case recognizes the ancient ones, or the Washita, or the Moors, not Indians, okay, who are the legal landowners and hold title to the land of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, okay? And this is what the June 19th celebration was supposed to be about. And then later on, about 20 years later, you know what I'm saying, 1868 with the Dred Scott case, and then later on with the Emancipation Proclamation, alright, after the civil conflict around 1860s, right, and then you have the Emancipation Proclamation, alright. Now, if anybody does research and understands this, everybody knows what emancipation and proclamation really mean, okay? Now, before we get into that, let's talk about what slavery is. Now, we all understand that slavery is not a real thing. Slavery is a concept. It's a recognition of the fact that someone who is in servitude to another person, or someone who is in indentured servitude, that's what the Europeans were in, or involuntary servitude, meaning someone is being forced to work without their consent. Okay? And this indentured servitude or involuntary servitude is handed down from generation to generation. It's generational. It's in the family line. Okay? So if someone's in servitude or indentured servitude and they have kids, then that servitude goes to the kids. Alright? It's handed down from generation to generation to generation. And that perpetually is what you call slavery. Okay? But it's really not slavery. It doesn't really exist. Because we all know the word slavery is a German word, comes from Slavic, from when the Germans went into Czechoslovakia and held them in servitude in Europe. So it really has nothing to do with the Moors, you know what I'm saying, falsely branded as black folks and Africans. It really has nothing to do with us, personally. But, okay, that term is being used and has been used, especially around 200 years ago, in the 1860s. Alright, 1860s, 1870s. Okay? So that's what the term slavery is used. It's a servitude that is handed down from one generation to the generation to the next generation. Okay? So now let's look at Emancipation Proclamation. We all know a proclamation is an announcement by elected officials. A proclamation is a declared statement to the world. That's what a proclamation is. Okay? Emancipate, if you look in the dictionary, emancipate is a verb. Okay? And it means to transfer out, to transfer ownership, to transfer. So emancipation, the proclamation, did not set any quote-unquote set slaves or anyone who was in servitude free. No. Emancipation is a transfer, meaning those who are in servitude or those who are in bondage, they're not really in bondage, but those who are in a condition where they're working for another, a family, whether at that time they were doing plantations, those who grow wheat or cotton or what other plant, corn or what other plant, tobacco primarily, those are the plantations. Wheat plantation, corn plantation, cotton plantation, tea plantation. Okay? So these were the main, and tobacco plantation. So these are the main plantations. Okay? And instead of the people working, everyone worked for a family. Right? There's a governor, and the governor had a family, and then the family had to work the field. You had either 10, 20, 30 people who worked the field. Okay? And emancipation, because of the civil conflict, right? Because you had them states in the South who was living good off of the way things was working. They was like, hey man, we living good down here. We're not going to give up our way of working, right? To go into what the North was doing. And the North was doing machines. They was going into the factories, right? And the South was like, I don't need to do that. I got all the raw resources down here. We could plant all year round down here. You can't do that up north unless you got a greenhouse. And up north, you got to plant. You can only plant in the north from, how can you say? You can only plant in the north from June all the way to September. Only grow. Once October, November, December, it gets too cold, right? So the north was transferred into the machine, the factory industry. So those who were in servitude was like, okay, well, instead of being in have to answer to a family, whether it be a governor or congressman, usually, or someone like that, then they would answer to the business, the corporation. All right, it would be some type of factory, steel industry, oil industry. All right, you answer to the corporation, the factory. So it's going from the families to the corporate states, to the corporate businesses, i.e., from having to answer to the families to having to answer to the state of Philadelphia. You understand what I'm saying? The state of Georgia. Okay? The state of whatever, Virginia, New York. Okay? So now they have to answer the corporation now instead of the families. So that's what the emancipation is. It was a public announcement declaring that all of those who were in servitude to the families, their responsibility will now be transferred to the corporate states. Okay? It did not free anybody. Okay? Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Go look it up for yourself. Okay? But I got a dictionary right here that tells me what the real truth is. And I know I might not show up on the camera thing. And see how I got the dictionary right there. And it's going to emancipate right there. I don't know if you can see it. Emancipate? That's supposed to be emancipate right there. And it says to transfer. And this is Webster Student Dictionary. Okay? So it says to transfer. It's not to release. It does have it in here to set free. Alright? But that's the second definition. The first definition is to transfer. Alright? So, Emancipation Proclamation by Lincoln did not set anybody free. It transferred the responsibilities from the families to the corporate states. Okay? And the Moors were not in slavery, not in servitude. The Europeans are in servitude. Perpetually. They're still in servitude now. And that's why the Europeans had to declare their independence from England, because they were already in servitude to England. Okay? No one can free somebody else. Right? The only way someone can be free is if they free themselves. Okay? No one... It is not necessary for, if someone wants to be free from a certain condition, to go seek it from the court, or seek it from a judge, or seek it from whatever, whatever type of other business or authority figure. Like, it doesn't work like that. You understand what I'm saying? The only way you can get free is if you free yourself. Okay? The Moors freed themselves by being themselves, by coming back to what they are. They're Moors. This is a fez. Fez is the national headdress of Morocco. And the national identity of Morocco is Moors. The nationality of Morocco are Moors. Alright? This brother right here is a Moor. This brother right here in Egypt is a Moor. Okay? This brother right here is a Moor. These aren't black folks. Africans, Ethiopians, Egyptians, Mexicans, Mayans, Olmecs. That's not who they are. Those are terms and brands given to them. But that's not what they call themselves. Alright? They are Moors. Alright? And us as Moors, some Moors have created and have brought on a condition for themselves through their own thoughts, words, actions, their own deeds. And that's why they are in a certain condition of servitude today. And there are some Moors who have not brought on that condition onto themselves. Okay? Now, when we look in the term, the Naturalization Act of 1870, you're going to see the term free white persons. Free white persons denotes who can be free, who can be classified as white and be free. Okay? And in that term, it says Moors can be free. The only free people are Moors. Europeans cannot be free. Okay? I don't know if they can read this either. But it says Naturalization Act. Well, you see it? You see it? Oh, yeah, it is. The Naturalization Act of 1870, right here. Alright, and it goes on to explain that the Moorish inhabitants can be free. But the European brothers and sisters cannot be free. Okay? Because the European brothers and sisters, the whole condition for our European brothers and sisters being here in America is to be in a corporation, to start a colony, to start a corporation, a business, alright, where they can trade in the natural resources from here to Europe, maybe Africa, if Africa gives them permission to do so, right? But it's a business. Because the Europeans cannot come here to America and then be Americans after 200 or 300 years and then be free, because that's not the terms and conditions of the contract. That's not how it works. Okay? Those who are already in America, falsely called Indians, the Moors who are already here, they are the free ones. They can roam and do whatever they want. Alright? But our European brothers and sisters cannot do that. Okay? That's fair. And because we understand that they can't do that, that's why a business was created for them, right? The Great Law, the Great Peace. Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Alright? All these treaties with the Choctaws and Cherokees and the Seminoles and all these treaties with the Lenape and Wabanaki and Abenaki. You understand? These treaties with the Choctaws and the Chickasaws and the Iroquois. All of these treaties were made so our European brothers and sisters could use the natural resources, could inhabit certain places. Right? But they can't own it. They can't inherit the land. They can't inherit the resources. You understand? Because that's our job. We can't give away our job. That's our role in the family. You understand what I'm saying? So, understanding is true. Okay? It's very important to have a very clear distinction between what's really going on and what's being promoted out here through the mass media, the newspaper, and the television, and the politics, because we all know something about that is not necessarily true. It's a little deceitful. It's a little misleading. Okay? And we all understand that it's the Moors. There's only one person on this planet, and those are Moors. When our European brothers and sisters were getting put into this business, brought into the business, there were certain Europeans by the name of Francois Bernier, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, Carlos Linnaeus, who coined these terms in the 1700s. Alright, and started to call Caucasians white, Mongolians yellow, Malayans brown, Ethiopians black, and Americans red, who started to coin these terms and get people to identify, trying to get people to identify with crayon colors. Okay? People are not, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Yes, I can, and I'm going to continue to emphasize this. People are not crayons. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. People are not crayons. Okay? There is no such thing as a black person. No such thing as a white person. No such thing as a yellow person. No such thing as a red person. No such thing as a brown person. Okay? These things don't exist. Just like there is no such thing as an Indian. No such thing as an African person. Or Egyptian person. These are all fake terms. Okay? That don't exist and don't identify with anybody. Okay? And the only reason why some of our Europeans coined these terms is because they understood that who brought them into the empire, and whose empire this really is the Moorish Empire. You know what I'm saying? The Moorish Empire brought our European brothers and sisters into this. Okay? The Moors in Africa, the Moors in America, and the Moors in Europe. Moors in Asia. Okay? The Moors in America, you call us Cherokees, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Abenaki, Wabanaki, Iroquois, or even Anasazi. Alright? The tribe, the Moors in Europe, you call them the royalty. You call them the Irish. You know, the king of kings and queens of England, Ireland, and Scotland. The original Scots was Moors. The original Irish was Moors. Alright? The royalty in Germany. Alright? With the Holy Roman Empire. Charlemagne. Alright? Otto I was all Moors. Okay? Then you go into China, where you got the Hans, or you got, what you call it? The Huns. So you got Attila the Hun, was a Moor, Asian, from Asia. Then you got, the other Asian Moor. Genghis Khan. There's another Moor. Alright? Then you have the Moors in Africa, which you call, how could you say, let's say, I don't want to say King Tut, that's more from America. But you could say, some of the royalty, the pharaohs in Egypt, right? They are all Moors. You got the Moors on the later, with the northern coast with the Berber tribes. You know what I'm saying? You got the Moors who went into Spain, the Moors from Africa, Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, the Zulus, right? The Kenyans, the Ashantis. You got the Moors in Africa, all right? And the Moors of Cambodia, and you got the Moors in Australia, and the Moors all around the world. So the whole planet is Moorish, the Moorish Empire. But the seat has always been in North and South America because everybody is fed from North and South America. Still to this day. Always has been. Okay? And our European brothers and sisters had these treaties with the Moors that say they can't mistreat the Moors. Right? Under no circumstance. It's an agreement. Yet what happened was, because of the conflicts with the Moors, with the conflicts on the Mediterranean, with the Barbary Moors, all right. Then some of those Moors from there got put into servitude, got classified. Their status changed once they became captured from the war, and then got transported to America, or they was already in America, got into a fight, you know what I'm saying, and as a result of the fight chose to go into the business. Thus their status changed that way too. And now they're not being classified as Moors, or treated as Moors now. They can be classified only as a brand that is subject to the European brothers and sisters. And this brand is what you call black, African, Indian. Okay? And it's very important to understand that. Okay? Our European brothers and sisters have the business. The Moors have the nation. The Moors have an inheritance. Europeans do not have an inheritance. What they have is a corporation. Alright? That's why it's all about, to some, not most. Most Europeans are not like that. But to those who, the bankers, right? The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the JP Morgan and Chase, and things like that. The bankers, the central bankers, it's all about money, 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 and business, 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 because they cannot inherit the land. They don't have an inheritance. Same with our Asian brothers and sisters. You got the Chinese, the people in China. It's communism, because there's no private land. It's all public land, and everybody's getting paid for their services to work on the public land. But they don't have an inheritance either. You understand? So, it's very important to understand that. Okay? The Moors are not in servitude. The Moors have to free themselves by being themselves. And some Moors are going to do it, and some Moors are not going to do it, because they just, hey, I got some family members too that's like, all right, we hear you, we understand. They're like, I'm not gonna make that decision. I made that, like, that's just not gonna happen, buddy. Okay? I'm accustomed to living the way I'm living now, and this is just the way it's gonna be in this cycle, and this is where I'm going. So if that means they gotta be in servitude or stay in servitude or whatever, get a job, pay bills, blah blah blah, blah, pay taxes, then like, so be it. So some of us are not going to make that decision. Okay? Some of us are. Okay? The Moors are indigenous. We are part of the land. Alright? And according to the United Nations Declarations of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, you know what I'm saying? All the nations of the world, you know what I'm saying? Article 26, it says the indigenous peoples, you know what I'm saying, have a right to own, use, develop, and control the lands, territories, and resources that they possess. Indigenous peoples have the right to the lands, territories, and resources that they have traditionally owned, that they occupy, or otherwise use or acquire. Okay? The Moors are indigenous. We have the right to the land and the resources. We live off the land. We don't have to get a job and do all of that to be a part of the business. We can if we want to. But we don't have to. Okay? And if we do choose, we must be very firm in our stance. Alright? Because in that business, there's an agreement. And that's what that Dred Scott case was about. Dred Scott went to the judge and said, Arkansas is a free state. I escaped. I'm in this free state now. I should be free. And the judge said, no. You said you were a descendant from slaves. That's perpetual. That's generational. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. It stays with you. And you can't be free. You can't be a citizen. No. Okay? No matter how long it's been. It's not designed like that. The only way Dred Scott can get out is if he comes back and be a Moor. Say he's indigenous. If he doesn't do that and he wants to keep being black and keep having a bank account and keep doing all these other things, then they're like, well, you're going to stay black or you're going to stay in the servitude. That's how it's designed to be. Because Europeans can't be free either. It's not designed that way. They can only be in the business. Okay? That's fair. Okay? That's not unfair. It's very important to understand this whole Juneteenth thing and to understand that some of our brothers and sisters who are doing this, they have made that their decision to do this and do how they want to do it. They're agreeing to be part of this servitude. It's not them, and they've agreed to this condition. And they know it's not them. It can't ever be them. It's a temporary condition. Okay? That they understand that they inherit the land. Islam. Now I know this camera about to run out, so it's been 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I just wanted to speak on Juneteenth for a second. Understand there's no black people, no white people. We're all one family. It's just cause and effect. Okay? And, make this very clear about who we are as a family, what's really going on. Islam. Peace and love to all. Till next time.